Every year, several NBA coaches start the season on the hot seat, knowing that their team's performance could result in them being out of a job. Who might be on the hot seat to start the 2024 season? Let's take a look. This year we see 8 head coaches start the season with new teams, with 2 of them taking over mid-season last year. These jobs are open for a wide variety of reasons, and I've put together 5 categories that a fired head coach normally falls into. Let's take a look at each one and predict who might be in trouble this season. One of the quickest ways to get fired is by fighting with the front office, whether this be team ownership or the GM. When a coach doesn't see eye to eye with leadership, it normally only can end one way. Sometimes a star player complains to the GM, creating additional problems. Last year, despite a 30-13 record, the Bucks fired head coach Adrian Griffin. At time, Griffin's strained relationship with assistant coaches and star players were front and center. These red flags are often ignored as long as the team is winning, but after a stressful will he won't he offseason related to Giannis's extension, the decision was made to move on from Griffin. Looking at this year, multiple reports are coming out of Denver that Mike Malone and the Nuggets front office are having an unusual amount of clashing. This all stems from the GM not re-signing and trading players that Malone wanted to keep on the team. The offseason after their championship, the Nuggets see Bruce Brown and Jeff Green off the team. This offseason, Contavious Caldwell-Pope is unable to reach a deal with the Nuggets and leaves via free agency. Malone has been very vocal about his concerns on the team that is being built. He wants to win, and he doesn't think the front office is building a team that can win. Will be interesting to see if these grumblings continue to grow as the season tips off. The second category that has become more common as of late are high expectations with an aging roster. The window to win a championship is open, but rapidly closing. As a result, teams are not willing to be patient. They want results now. Suns coach Frank Vogel fell victim to this and was fired after just 1 season with the Suns. Despite Bradley Beal's injury keeping him sidelined for most of the year, the Suns moved on after the first round playoff exit. Kevin Durant is 36, and the Suns are well into the luxury tax. They need to win now and didn't think Vogel was the man for the job. There are several head coaches that can meet the same fate this year, but I'm going to go with a little bit of a wild card here, and I'm going to say Ty Lue of the Clippers. Yes, Paul George is gone, and that makes things a lot harder, and you could probably argue that the window is already closed with Paul George leaving. But I still think a healthy Kawhi, an engaged James Harden is a championship contending team. But without a serious step forward, I think this may be the last year for Ty with the Clippers. They say that patience is a virtue, but at some point that patience needs to pay dividends. Last year we saw Cleveland move on from JB Bickerstaff, what a great name, despite making the playoffs in the last 2 of his 4 seasons with the Cavs. Similarly, 2 years ago we saw the same from the Suns as they fired Monty Williams. The hottest of seats this year may very well be Willie Green in New Orleans. They have a talented roster, even more so by adding DeJounte Murray this year. Willie Green needs to prove he can get them over the hump and make a deep playoff run. If the Pelicans struggle during the season, Green may be out before the end of the year. Once a team's window has closed, the sometimes ugly rebuild process begins. Teams that recognize this often decide it's best to start with a new head coach as well. The Brooklyn Nets have recognized it's time to hit reset and have relieved Jacques Vaughn of his coaching duties as they look to trade away any assets and begin to rebuild. This year, it looks as if the Bulls may be doing the same thing. They have been trying to trade Zach LaVine and continue to do so. DeMar DeRozan leaves via sign-and trade, and the Bulls have failed to make the playoffs the last 2 seasons and seem to be well on their way to making it 3 in a row. If they decide to hit reset, head coach Billy Donovan may be out the door, giving the team a fresh start on all fronts. Finally, a head coach rarely survives a historically bad season. Last year, the Pistons were, well, awful. In literally every category, this team was bad. They did break a record, but it was the saddest record in all sports with a 28-game losing streak. Monty Williams was fired, surprisingly not during the losing streak, but at the end of the season. This year, Portland head coach Chauncey Billups may be facing the same fate. Last year, the Blazers went 21-61, their second worst record in team history. Looking at the changes they made this offseason, it isn't going to get any better. Chauncey Billups is in trouble. So there you have it. Those are my prediction for coaches that may be on the hot seat and fired this year, either during the year or at the end of the year, but all for very different reasons. Which NBA coach do you think is on the hot seat as the 2024 season tips off?